Hey guys, Ryan King here, and I'm the keyboard instructor for worshipartistry.com. In today's YouTube lesson, we're going to take a look at the song Endless Praise by Planetshakers, and specifically off of their live album, Endless Praise Live. Now, the reason that we're doing that is because we have another version on our site that is off of their Outback worship sessions, and that particular arrangement is a lot more accessible for most churches. But the live version is a lot of fun, and it's a big challenge for keyboard players. And so in this particular lesson, we're going to take a look at the tone. Now, normally when we look at the tone, we look at just what I'm doing here on the keyboard. But in today's lesson, we're going to look at that in addition to taking an in-depth look at how MainStage is set up in order to execute this song. And as a bonus, I've also included the instrumental after the bridge, which is a lot of fun to play. So we're only going to take a look at those couple of lessons. So if you want to see the entire lesson, you need to click the link and head over to Worship Artistry where you can sign up for an account. There you can do that for a little less than $10 a month, and it's totally worth it. You get all these lessons plus a whole lot more. But just in case you want to check out the YouTube video, this is for you. The tone for this song is very important. There are synth parts all over the place. And so because of the prerequisite of having to have MainStage, I'm going to divide this particular lesson into two different videos. This one is just going to be kind of an overview of the sounds that we're using. The next video will actually dive into MainStage and how we've got it set up in order to achieve a lot of these different sounds. Now, we're using about 7 different sounds for this tune. There are 3 sounds that are identical, but we've applied arpeggiators to them. One is kind of a pulse kind of pad, and I've applied an arpeggiator to the first one, and it sounds like this. So that's that main synth part that's playing throughout the verse. Now, I've set the arpeggiator to just quarter notes, and I'm actually playing the syncopation myself. If I hold down the note, then you'll just hear the quarter notes. So you can hear those quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now our tempo is at 128, so you have to make sure that MainStage is set up to do 128 or whatever you're using. If you do have a good, really good smart keyboard, make sure it's set to 128. Now that's the main pulse pad or pulse synth that's moving along throughout the verse. Now once we get into the chorus, we're going to use that same sound, but we're going to change the arpeggiator to this. So you can see that's a lot more syncopated, and that is actually set to dotted 8th notes. And what I've done is I've extended it just a little bit more past 2 bars so that it doesn't automatically re-trigger. And I'll explain what that means in the next lesson. But that's the same pulse synth, it's just a second version of it. And then finally I've got the same version one more time without an arpeggiator, and it sounds like this. So as you can see right off, those arpeggiators really take a lot of the pressure off of having to play those rhythms. We just hold the notes down, the arpeggiator takes care of the rest. We kind of have to do a little bit of a hybrid in between of letting the arpeggiator sound out and then playing some of the rhythms by ourselves and then kicking back in. And so you'll learn those in the upcoming lessons. Next we have what we would call like a push pad, and this is a very kind of much like a Euro kind of synth where the cutoff filter is closed and it opens in time, and it gives it kind of this offbeat kind of feel, and it sounds like this. So you can hear how it opens and closes, and it gives it that offbeat kind of feel. It's opening up on beats 2 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's on those upbeats, that kind of thing. And it also starts over when you let off of the notes and restrike it. And so those are some key things that you have to be aware of. The next one is just a big main pad. It's a big kind of epic synth sound. It sounds like this. big, kind of nasty sounding. It's got a lot of dirt, very epic sounding. And then finally, we've got these three that I talked about with the two arpeggiators and one that's by itself. We've got some notes down below where we've bumped it up an octave. It sounds like this. So you can hear how that sounds. It's got very much a almost very computer or electronic kind of sound to it. And so those are the main ones that I'm using inside of Omnisphere. And then I've got two other instances of Omnisphere open. And one has that main lead line. So that's a big triangle kind of lead with a lot of overdrive, dirt, and grit applied to it. There's a glide on it, and it's set to individual notes, so I can't actually play chords with it. And then I've got another big trance lead that we can add to that, and it sounds like this. When you add them together. So you can hear how those work really well together. When we put them all together, it sounds like this. So you can see those really work very well together. Now again, the prerequisite is you gotta have MainStage and you gotta have Omnisphere. So that's what we're gonna dive into next. All right, so what you're seeing here is MainStage. And if you're not familiar with MainStage, just to give you a brief overview, over here on the left, this is where our patch list is. It operates off of concerts, which is just a combination of different hardware and software inputs. And so what you see right here is the hardware that I'm using. I've got my keyboard down here. If I strike a note, you can see that it lights up. You can see which of these pads I can create zones. That's what these are for here. See how pad 1 lights up? And then lead. I also have my nano control that you've seen over on my keyboard on the left. That's what's set up right here. And I can control different volumes and things like that of the different parameters, knobs, and such. And each one of these pieces of hardware is connected to a software. So this is hardware fader, this is software fader. And if you notice, you can see the first hardware fader that I moves the software fader. And so I can customize my sounds and volumes for this because I'm using a variety of different things here. Now, I will give some credit to a guy by the name of Chris Lang. You can search for him on the internet. He's got a lot of patches out there for purchase, and he did a good bit of legwork for this. And what I've done is I've modified some of the stuff that he's done. Now, as you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3 instances of Omnisphere. Now, you really have to have a powerhouse of a keyboard and a computer in order to be able to pull this off, because normally you don't run multiple instances of Omnisphere. And so the first one right here, we've got Omnisphere. I'll go ahead and open it up. This is Omnisphere, and as you can see, what you saw on my iPad, I've got set up right here. I've got my live version, and if I start pressing my different buttons on my iPad, you can see that it starts changing. Now, what I've done is I've got my stack set up here, so that really doesn't affect it all that much. I've got it applied to the push pad here, but honestly, it doesn't affect it that much because of the chord trigger over here. Now, the first one, we're just using this praise pulse, and as you can see here, here's the arpeggiator, and it's set to quarter notes right here. It's a 16th note clock, so every one of these buttons represents a 16th note. There are 4 16th notes for every quarter. So I've got this set up to kind of hold out a little bit longer. And so when I play that, you can watch it. You see that it goes through, and I've got it set to trigger on the note, so when I restrike the actual note, it restarts the arpeggiator. can see that it was starting over again right here. Now this is the main one that we use for the verse. If we go over to the one for the chorus, you can see it's syncopated. It's still set to a 16th note clock. Retrigger on the note. It's set to chord. If you don't set it to chord, if you set it to something else like up, you see how it moves there. So we have to go back to chord. And it's set to retrigger whenever I restrike. So that's very important, all these settings right here. And then for the fifth one, there's an arpeggiator, but as you can see, it's not turned on. This is the power button, and it's not turned on. For our push pad, we'll come over to our main view here, and you can see that we've got, this is an LFO, and we'll talk about a lot of these in another thing when we dive into Omnisphere. But this LFO right here, as you can see, this is what I was talking about, the actual cutoff, which is over here. It opens and then shuts off, and then opens and shuts off, opens and shuts off. And that's what you get whenever you do this. So you can see how that works. And then the main pad, there's nothing applied to it. It's pretty good to go. Now, as far as our chord trigger, this is the main prerequisite inside of MainStage that we're using. This is an actual MIDI effects, and as you can see here, it says MIDI effects. If I came over here to this one, I could apply an arpeggiator, chord trigger, modifier, and a bunch of other things. And so what we have here is a chord trigger, and what this does, it allows us to select certain notes and then program certain keys to single notes to form chords. So if I click this guy, you can see how that B below C2 is lit, and the D sharp and F sharp above C3 are lit. If I went up to the C sharp here, it's different, different, different. So this is what is allowing us to play single notes with actual chords. So this is just a huge thing in order to be able to actually play all these different parts. Now, one of the reasons why we have 3 different instances of Omnisphere is because this chord trigger applies after Omnisphere. And what that means is that everything that happens inside of Omnisphere runs through this chord trigger here. So if we were to put our leads into this actual thing here, it would not work very well. We would not have the actual lead line, so we have to have it in a separate instance. And because I'm using my iPad to control this instance, I can't use my iPad to control these two. MainStage will open up these 3 instances, and you'll see those 3 instances inside of your iPad app, but you can only control one at a time, and you can't switch them back between the 2. And so we have to have 2 separate instances. And so this one is our main lead here, and then this is the big trance lead. And so that's kind of the overall view of MainStage. Setting up the chord trigger here, that is huge. And then just having these 3 different instances. And as you can see, like I told you, these hardware pieces right here, if I click this mute button, you can see down there on lead 2 that when I push this, it mutes it. And so that's muting that big trance synth. And now it's muted. So that's the general overview of MainStage. There's a ton that goes back into it. There are a lot of great plugins for this, synths for this, and then you have third-party guys like Omnisphere, which is just great to use inside of it. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of how we get our tone for this particular tune. Now, again, if you don't happen to have MainStage, if you've got a keyboard that you can program chords to your single notes, then that'll be great. And if you don't have that, then if you just just want to dial up that main pad as well as a big lead, then you'll at least have something to get through the song, but you might not have all of those rhythmic aspects to it. So that's why this is important in having MainStage. MainStage is great because it's only $30, and you can't really beat that. You pay $30 for it, you get a great piece of software, and then you can add Omnisphere to it later, which is about $500. And so, but it's definitely a powerhouse of a piece of software. So those two things combined will definitely give you the sounds that you need to execute this tune. After the bridge, we have a really cool instrumental that we get to play, and this is where the keyboard really gets to shine, and it sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. Very cool sounding. Now, in our left hand, it's fairly easy. We're just playing G, A, B, and then G, A, and then down to our C. Now that's our left hand. In our right hand, we have this really cool melody that starts off on B. And the couple of things you need to note about this is that part of it, you're gonna hit a high B, and then you're always gonna come down to a low B. So you'll start your run, and you're gonna alternate between other notes and a low B. So we start with B, C sharp, D, B, low B, A, low B, F sharp, low B, A, and then we have a second figure, E, F sharp, E, D, B, A, and then it starts over again. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3E and a 4E triplet 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So the key to really executing this is to start slow and work through it and really think of it as in terms of sections. So the first section, you'll have this. So that's the first section. B, C sharp, D, B, B, A, B, F sharp, B, A, B. Second section, E, F sharp, E, D, B, A, and then it starts over. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and. Then it starts over. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. This is our little run. It starts on beat 3 and on F sharp. 3E and a 4E triplet, and then we start our figure again. 3E and a 4E triplet 1. 3E and a 4E triplet 1. You need to make it really legato. Play all the notes. Don't do it staccato like this. Play them together. It'll sound a lot better. And then you have your figure again. And then this last figure is different. We walk up, B, C sharp, D sharp, B, B, F sharp, E, D sharp. So again. When we put it all together one more time, it sounds like this. And that's the instrumental. Again, this is probably one of the most tricky sections of the entire song, so you really need to work on this, work on it slow, and then begin to build your momentum, build your tempo. Make sure you take a look at your sheet music down below, work through the loop video a few times, and then start over and work through the music video several times just to make sure you've got it underneath your belt. Now, I hope this has been very educational. This is definitely a tough tune. This is not for the faint of heart. You gotta have a good keyboard rig, gotta have MainStage, gotta have Omnisphere, and if you've got those tunes and you really work on this really hard, then you'll have what you need to play this tune. Now, don't forget to have fun and always bring your best. Be sure to click the link and head over to worshipartistry.com where you can sign up for a free account today. Every lesson comes with a music video where you can change different video angles, as well as step-by-step instruction for different sections of the song. We also have loop videos that you can practice along to, as well as sheet music, chord charts, guitar tabs, and a whole lot more. So what are you waiting for? Click the link and sign up for a free account today.